Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today we are joined by one of our amazing clients. She has just launched her book in the past couple of weeks called The Sheriff's Wife. And I'd like to welcome Janel Lamb to the show. Janel, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
My best advice would be to write down in your notes on your phone or wherever you have it. When you get one of those really great ideas or a new idea, to write it down immediately. I can't tell you how many ideas I've forgotten that I thought I would never forget because it was such a great idea and I didn't write it down in my notes and it was lost forever. So that's my number one piece of advice. When you get that little flash of an idea, whether it's a title or a chapter title or a story you want to tell, write it down immediately wherever you can.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I got my phone with me at all times, so I have an idea, I go in the Notes app, and then at night when my phone is off, I actually have a legal pad next to my bed. So if any ideas, I'll just get it briefly, write it down, pop it down there. And of course, what happens? 2 days later, you forget about it, and then you're thinking, oh, but wait a minute, I wrote it down, so let me go check that.
Yep. Yes, I feel very satisfied with myself when I've written it down and I can go back. But I've shamelessly spent a couple nights, more than a couple nights, probably at 2 a.m, up on my notes on my phone, just getting something out of my mind so I can sleep, first of all. So I have to worry about forgetting it, and then it's there in the morning and I can revisit it. And I'm usually very happy I did that.
Well, what do you feel was the hardest part about getting published?
Well, when we had the idea for our books, and we knew when I had the idea for my book and I knew what I wanted to do, the hardest part was just when you start to do research on the internet and you just realize there's so much information out there. There's almost too much information out there. And you start getting overwhelmed. You start feeling like, oh, this is just going to be really hard. You just don't know where to start because you're almost information overload. I think that's one of the hardest parts of getting published, for sure.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that we use with your book launch that you feel worked well, because we had a lot of pieces that worked really well with this launch. In fact, I think this is one of our biggest launches that we've done.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Asking my friends, so when I launched my book and I was putting it out there and telling everybody, I made sure and asked everybody who read it, they would please go to Amazon and leave me a review. And I think that was really helpful to get so many great Amazon reviews. I got a lot right away, and I think that really helped with my launch.
Well, and the thing is, too, it did, because you had, I believe, 30 reviews by the time that we finished that launch sequence.
That's right. And I don't even know who most of the people are that did the launch. I had some people that I specifically asked, to do it. And then the other one was just putting a call to action on my social media, and people were so gracious to take a minute and just write me something nice. And it really made a big difference. I was so grateful for that.
Well, you mentioned about utilizing your audience, your social media. So what were some of the main strategies that you used? Because, we plugged your book in the system and it did great, but I really feel that you took it next level with leveraging your audience as well. It's almost like a rocket booster when we launched your book out there.
Yeah, well, my audience luckily shared my post. They ordered my book, and then they shared when they got my book. They were all so excited to get it. They would take a picture of it and put it on their page, and they say, look, I got this book. You got to go get it. And the other thing that I thought was great, besides having my friends friends and acquaintances and everybody just rally around it, which was really just so humbling and wonderful, was I did a couple of just on the side, quick little book signing events. And one thing that really brought people out to those was doing a live video. And I also did a live video on my Facebook to thank everybody for all the reviews and shares. And I think when people see a live video coming across their feed, if they're just, cruising around on Facebook or wherever they are, it gets their attention. And so it helps drive people to it, and you get your message out a lot faster if you can do a live. They're scary. They're scary to do sometimes because you mess up your words, but they don't have to be perfect. You just got to do it.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, people want to connect with you, and they're not expecting anything perfect. Just get out there and communicating the message.
Yep.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, I have a lot of favorite books, but when I was really getting serious about writing my book, I was kind of looking to read something that felt similar to mine. I just kind of wanted some inspiration, I guess, is what I was looking for. And I picked up this great book by Jordan Lee Dooley. It's called Own Your Everyday by Jordan Lee Dooley. And she is an Instagram influencer who started on Etsy with a company called Soul Scripts. She started this thing called Soul Scripts, and this was, several years ago, and this was just getting kind of trendy, where she would write a uplifting or a spiritual message on a canvas and then mail it out. That was her Etsy store. And she grew that into a huge influencer coaching. I mean, she's doing it all now. And so she wrote a book about how she started Soul Scripts as a college student, and it's a very inspirational book. And I loved her writing style. I loved how she felt very conversational. And I thought, that's what I want for my book. And I was so glad that I found her book. So Own Your Everyday by Jordan Lee Dooley was really an influential book for me this past year.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is, "The best things in life aren't things." It sounds so simple, but when you really boil it down, things like health, friends, happiness, love, those kind of things, you cannot buy those things. You can, you can buy a lot of other things that could make you feel happy, but true happiness are given to us by things that we can't buy with money. And so those are the things we need to cherish the most in life. So that's my saying.
Absolutely. Well, Janel, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
My Instagram is sheriffswife_beauty patrol. It's beauty patrol because I used to do hair. I'm a hairdresser, retired, but sheriffswife_beauty patrol at Instagram. And then my website is sheriffswife.com. And that's where you can order a copy of my book and get to know a little bit more about me.
Janel, thank you once again for being on the show and for being such an amazing client. And I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.